All right, everyone, we're going to get started here. First of all, I'd like to thank all of those who registered to be here for our webinar Wednesday. And today we're going to be talking about Creo Illustrate and what that does for you and your company. And then there'll be a time at the end for questions. So don't feel the need to ask any questions throughout this presentation and this demonstration. So just a quick introduction. My name is Keith Morris. I am a technical specialist here with PDS Vision. My background is in 3D design, additive manufacturing, and I also have a background in animation and rendering. So just a little bit about us as a company. PDS Vision was formerly known as Boundary Systems, which started in 2006. We are the first PTC global reseller and service provider. We also offer software solutions, consulting capabilities, cloud and help desk, and also training. In 2018, we were acquired by the PDS Vision group. So we've been with them ever since. And as you can see, we've expanded quite a bit globally as well. These are some of our partners, PTC obviously, but we also are partners with Moldex 3D, Keyshot, ZW CAD, just to name a few. The digital thread, this is an approach to the application of PTC's software suite. The idea is that this thread intersects with the use of individual applications and where they're utilized in the manufacturing process. So where your company fits within this ring here is what we go by, and we identify what your needs are by using this. This philosophy leads to reduced time to market, less downtime in production and costs, and allowing for an increase in manufacturing efficiency. So this is what we go by here at PDS Vision. So I just want to show and touch on this slide here, what Creo Illustrate is. It's a software that allows you to take your Creo models and assemblies and create instructed guides for assembly or disassembly as a technical publication. This can be done by creating a series of figures that show the steps. These figures would end up being the illustrations in the final PDF or Word document, whether that's something digital or you would print out. This can work with both. You can also choose to make an animated movie of the assembly or the disassembly of your parts. So in this demonstration, I'm just going to be touching on some of the commonly used and key features within Creo Illustrate. So first thing I want to show up, I want to mention before doing anything, this is a very easy software to use. It's very intuitive, and you'll see as I'm going along how quickly you can get your images and your figures together, including your animations and your sequences. So over here I have some of those sort of already set up. This area shows both your SBOM, and which is your assembly, which has all your parts in this area. But in this area, you can set up your views essentially and what you want those views to be, and so on. You can create as many figures as you need to show what it is you're going after, depending on what section you're working on in your publication. So right now, I just have a standard view of this transmission here. And just right now, I want to show some basic things before we get into a little more detail with some of the other features. This allows you to, I'm going to show you some render modes first. So in here, you can have this model displayed to a certain style depending on what environment or how it's going to be viewed or how it's going to be displayed. So right here under render mode, I'm showing this with shaded with edges, but I can change it to flat, and it'll look more hand drawn. HLR. This is typically what we see in a line drawing in a lot of publications. So this is a very popular display style right here. But we got a couple other ones: shaded illustration, cell illustration. So it's kind of the cell illustration is sort of a cross between flat and shaded. It's kind of a combination depending on what you like to work in and what's best for the publication as well. For this demonstration purpose, I'll just stay in shaded with edges, but I did want to show you a few of those and what these can look like in the other figures as well. You can also control your lighting. So the reason lighting is important is because a lot of publications are also viewed directly on a tablet, and a lot of plants and warehouses are starting to use less paper, and they're going green by using just a smart device. So this lighting can help because depending if you have a darker, if you don't have good lighting within the plant or the warehouse or the shop floor, you can keep this area pretty bright. So you have 4 different lighting settings, and on these you can choose to edit how bright or how dark you want them to be. So the ambient light, you can diffuse the light, and then there's a specular option as well. So these give you those options as well. 3 lights kind of gives you that extra light, so you kind of see this metallic look. You can also change your background and your gradient. So if you wanted something that something will pop off the page or off the document, you can have that as set up as well. I can choose a background color, and right here is where I would change the gradient. So right now this is set to white. I could change this to any color, gray. I can make them both the same, so then you get a flat color in the background there. So obviously, these colors on this model, this may look like these may represent the colors of the material, but I just want you to know, in technical publications, we also often see the different parts on this assembly as a different color. So you can change that in here. If I just select any of these, I could just start changing the colors on this just by going to editing figure color. And yes, a lot of them are sort of these obnoxiously bright colors, and the reason they do that is so your eye can make the distinction between the parts. So I'm going through in here, I could continue to change the colors on these parts. You guys get the idea here. So I've seen this in a lot of other types of files as well. This is sort of indicative of even what you're setting up in the modeling in Creo Parametric as well. It's for that same purpose. It helps, gives that distinction of the model. So now I have this flat gray background, and this colored model gives it a nice pop, and it's easy to see. And you can continue to work with your assembly in that display style and in those colors. You could also choose render mode just by right clicking. So those are just some basics as far as display and your visuals and how you want things to look. So another common feature is exploded states. This is very intuitive and simple and quick to work with. As you can see, I have an exploded area in this area right here, and we have our explode lines going through here to show you that is where those parts are assembled, in whether you're assembling it or disassembling it. So I could explode any area, as many parts as I want. So if I just wanted this area to be exploded, these parts to show as exploded. I gotta get these screws selected here first. All I gotta do is put these into place, move them out of the way. Then once they're out of the way there, I can grab all these, hit my explode line button right there. And now you can see the assembly of that area. And just to show you this, because we see this a lot, you know, I've switched this render mode to HLR, and now you get the idea of what this would start to look like inside of your technical publication when it comes to like a hand-drawn or a line art look to it. You can control the settings of the explode lines as well. The color of the lines don't have to be black. You can change the line weight. So if you wanted something more obvious on the part or how it would be assembled, you can have those settings, control the settings of that look too. So here, there's two. This is insets and callouts. This feature, it's pretty self-explanatory what's happening here. It's taking an area and it's zooming in on it, and it's calling it out a certain area on the model. So these are your callouts under here. You have item number with quantity. You could do a note, you could do a free note. So there's a lot of options with callouts. Insets, there's these three types here. This example I have set up already is using inset B. Inset A is pretty much the same. It's just a square box with a different type of arrow leading to the area. But inset C is a little bit different. So once I have that pre-selected, I just drag here, and I can move this wherever I want, this little preview box, and this is gonna actually be your call out. If I zoom this out like this, it'll zoom out the view. If I zoom in, it'll zoom in the view. So this is slightly different to where you could drag it to any area you want. It's not necessary. You're selecting a part to start with, but then, you know, just by simply moving this, you can see where this is at. So that's also that's a type of inset you can have. one call out here I wanted to show was this, you know, you can start to drag these and use the item numbers. I'm going to use this other style here for item number quantity. So 6 of these screws here. We'll start with just by selecting these screws. So it's saying this is the third item number, and there's 6 of them. So and again, switch to a different view. You could do this while you're working on these two. You don't have to. The display style can change at any time in any of the figures. But inside the callouts here, you can also change that as well. Section views. Again, another easy, simple feature to use and work with. Right now, I have this split as a planar section. There's also what's called a quarter section as well, and I'm going to explain what this is here in a second. But I can choose to move along this plane if need be, depending what assembly or parts you're working with. I can rotate this in any of the directions. I could go as far back as I need to go right there. So that's what a quarter section looks like. These two red preview areas right here indicates 2 things. If I select this top one, it's outlining in that color where the cut is at. I could also have it to where it's just flat on those areas, so you know where exactly the cut is happening if you wanted some sort of other visual reference towards that as well. So these create section views here. So the two movements within here, there's animation and there's sequence. The difference between the two is animation is like watching a video of something, and this particularly in the case of Creo Illustrate, it's watching something assemble or disassemble. Sequence is similar, except you're playing it step by step. It's doing it in steps instead of just one length of a movie. So there's different benefits of those. You might use the animation for a tutorial of some sort of instruction that pairs with the Word document or the PDF. So here we have just those 2 pieces coming out from there. If I wanted to animate this further, it automatically records my movements so long as the record button is on. I could turn it off to stop the movement. But now I've got extra movement there. What's nice too is I could record the camera. So I'm going to zoom in here to right there, and I'm going to turn that off. And what's nice about that too is once I disable the recording the camera, now I could freely move the camera back around and it won't be recording those movements. But what I want to do here is we did this earlier when we were in the exploded state, but now say we want it to, like I said, pair with your technical publication, we can animate those as well. And the first thing I'm going to do with these screws are I'm going to give them an effect to where it's being highlighted before they actually move. So under effects here, there's various effects here. There's fly in, fly out, there's fades, a shake, unscrew if you want to get really fancy. For this, I'm going to use Flash. That's a pretty commonly used one. Again, it's something that's using a flash will draw the attention of your eye towards this area. So I'm going to use Flash, and I'm going to change this color to a bright color there. Now, as you can see, it recorded the flash there, and now I'm going to move those up. Move this up. Again, kind of, you'll see once this is all brought together. And now those recorded steps that we did, in addition to what it started with, we'll see it here all in motion. So, so that's what an animation does for you. And now here's a sequence that I have set up. So when you start a sequence, it gives you an extra tab here on your left menu, and it has your steps. So this is different because now if I go into this preview sequence, I'm playing through the steps one by one. It's not, there's interactivity with it. So recording these steps is very similar to how you would record your animation. So I'm going to add a new step, and then I would record the new step, and then it would continue to add those steps. What's nice is I could also reverse this as well. And I'm clicking through these steps here. So, yeah, so now let's say there's obviously way more figures I would have throughout this, but for the sake of demonstration, if I wanted to, a huge benefit of this is I don't have to publish or render any of these out separately. I could do it all at once. So I'll show you how easy that is. I have to set it up first. I have to make sure that I have these settings. So here's my figures. I'm going to edit these publish options. I'm adding file types to this list. So if it's 2D illustration, what format is it? What profile? If it's just image, I have more image options here. A movie. So I've started to add those, the MP4, which is a movie, a PNG is a graphic, and a SVG is a vector graphic. So all I'm going to do is edit these names here. PNG. I'll change this to vector. So now I can hit apply, okay, and now you can see this list goes along to see, okay, in my standard view, what do I want? Creo 3D is a PVZ file that saves out, which is interchangeable with Creo View. So that's what Creo 3D is. The only ones that move are the animation and the sequence, so I could go through the rest of these and uncheck movie, and I could leave those two. I could leave these two checked for animation and sequence, and then all I'm going to do is uncheck the PNG and vector for those two options. So I want a PNG and a vector file for these still images here. So once I have that set up, publish separate files. I have my working directory here. set up to save here. Just go ahead and hit yes on this because it's just saying if there's files with the same names, it's just giving you a warning. Takes a second here, not egregiously long, but I'll open that up for you guys. They'll start to show up in here. So as it's rendering out, I can see it here in my, so this is the sequence, this is the movie, does those first, and then the other files will follow shortly after that. So here's all the PVZ files up here. And then here's the graphic versions, and here's the vector versions. So it's real easy. I have, what I'm going to do here is, let's say I want to put this image into a PDF or Word document now. So now that I have all my final files ready, they're all in this folder and they're ready to be used in the document that's being created. All I need to do is just drop and drag it in there. So I have a kind of a blank example here. Didn't want to go there. And you know, this isn't a PDF creator, but you know, you get the idea here where you have this set up, and it's just like that. It is that simple, all the way from here to there. And you would obviously have more figures and more views, and depending what you're setting up, it is pretty easy to keep this organized too, because if I'm starting with this standard view and I wanted it, you know, to get to this, all I do is hit duplicate, and I could just rename this to standard and then second step, or something that indicates what's going to happen next. And you can continue to, and you can reorganize these views as much as you need to. One thing I do want to point out when you're working with that is when you, I'm just going to move this here real quick. If I want to save this view, and I have to, once it's set, I could just hit use current figure, and then it'll update automatically. So, and I could move around this as much as I want and get it out of view, go to something else, and you know, it'll always. So I have that there. If I go to figure view, it'll bring it back to where it was. So there is one other quick thing I wanted to show you guys here, is that when you have a when you want to make an edit this dimension in Creo Parametric, you can do that and it'll update through to this assembly. And the reason I'm opening a different file is because this version of the assembly was brought in as a link instead of embedded, which is important to note if you want to do this. So this shift knob, if we wanted to change its dimension, if I'm back here in Creo Parametric, and I want to change this dimension to something maybe not that short. So the first thing I got to do after I do that is actually save it. Hit the save on that part, and then the next thing I want to do is save as. I'm going to choose PVZ here over this shift knob right here, the PVZ file, and save over it. Then back in here, I'm just reopening this file. It's saying there's a file that's changed, and the shift knob is then updates with that. So that's nice that this all works together, because if there is a change like that, it'll change, and it goes through. It's not here, but it goes through all your figures on that as well. So so I'm just going to talk about we'll talk about a few benefits here. First of all, it's easy to use. It's simple. It's easy to work around, and which is nice because you're creating such a highly detailed guide. And another thing is as you saw, the animations, the step-by-step sequences, and still images, including your PVZ files, can all be published at once. You don't have to sit there and do one by one. That would be very tedious and time consuming. It can easily be worked into a PDF and Word document by just, once you have all your files in a folder, you're able to just drag and drop them into the creation of those files. The PVZ files are interchangeable with Creo View. You can take all of that into Creo View. And one quick thing I wanted to mention here, which we didn't really touch on in the demo, but the sequences can also be used in Vuforia, because that's what's a lot of companies are getting into as well. It's an AR implementation. And you can take those sequences, and if you guys aren't, a lot of you guys know what AR is, but Vuforia is PTC software to set that up. So you can take your sequences from Illustrate into Vuforia. So so with that, that's all I had to show you guys today, and I will take any questions. You should have the ability to type them out, and got one question here already. Can you just use, Adam is asking, can I just use the part in the assembly files versus converting to PVC? You can, so I'm going to kind of answer this in two parts. The PVZ file from Illustrate, if you're not going to use Illustrate, then yes, you can just convert it to a PVZ. You could save it as a PVZ file. But if you are using Illustrate, having that option and that file type is really nice, because it's interchangeable with it. So I hope that answers your question. Sarah is asking, can Creo Illustrate do dimensional drawings? I'm going to preface this by saying any questions not addressed here today, I will be able to get back to you on some of them. So with that being said, Sarah, I believe you can do dimensional drawings with Illustrate, but I will have to confirm that and get back to you. but you can pull dimensions from Creo Parametric. They would be 3D model annotations. Adam, did I answer your question? I just wanted to get back to you on that. All right, I'll have to understand or research that more. Yeah, you can you can import. You are importing parts. You're bringing in your assembly and your parts into. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you guys for being a part of this. I just wanted to mention if you go on our YouTube page, there is a wealth of resources, and it's basically a huge knowledge base of videos like this, webinars on different topics. So please check that out. It's very resourceful. And then just some contact information if you have any sales questions, sales@pdsvision.us. For any technical questions, you could reach out to me there in terms of this webinar. And thank you guys again for being here.